The United Nations recognizes 193 countries plus 2 observer states, Palestine and the Vatican, Holy See. With the exception of major nations such as the United States, Indonesia, Pakistan, China, Mexico and Brazil, most of these countries have a population of less than 50 million, making it difficult for travelers to locate them on a map. Thus, finding one unexpected truth about each of the 195 nations or observer governments, ordered by population, to make the world a little more accessible and fascinating. The population of the globe in 2023 exceeded 8 billion. Before we get into the video, be sure to subscribe and leave a comment below saying, "I subscribed." We will try to personally reply to your comment. Get ready to receiving new one's knowledge. 1. India. The craving for sweets came to the world from India. Although sugar cane originated in Southeast Asia, India was the first country to chemically refine it around 2,500 years ago. Thank you, India. 2. China. China produces 126 million single chopsticks or 63 million pairs of chopsticks annually. They range from mass-produced, throwaway chopsticks to elaborate chopsticks that can take up to a month to make. 3. The United States. One of the most famous flags in the world consists of stars and stripes. However, did you know that in 1958, a bright high school student created the current version, which has 50 stars, as a class project? Did the guy really think that Hawaii and Alaska would join him in a year? Surprisingly, the boy's unimpressed teacher gave him a 4. 4. Indonesia. Although it is the largest island nation in the world, the exact number of islands in this Southeast Asian country, thousands and thousands to be exact, is unknown. Even after Indonesia tried to count them all in 2017, the numbers remain controversial. 5. Pakistan. Sialkot, a small city in this South Asian country, is responsible for 40% of the world's soccer ball production. These include the Adidas Al Rihla, which is the official ball of the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar. 6. Nigeria. The Yoruba people, who live in the southwest of this African country, are well known for having 50 twins for every 1,000 births, more than any other group in the world. The Yoruba people consume a variety of yam that contain an ovarian stimulant that can produce more egg cells. This is the best explanation for this phenomenon. 7. Brazil. The number of uncontacted tribes in the Brazilian Amazon is estimated to exceed 100, making it the most densely populated uncontacted area on Earth. 8. Bangladesh. The South Asian nation is feeling extremely warm. In fact, the lowest temperature on record was 2.6 degrees Celsius, 37.7 degrees Fahrenheit. Just above freezing. Still, 12 people died during the 2018 cold snap. 9. Russia. The plant, discovered in the permafrost of Siberia in 2012, was successfully regenerated by Russian scientists using seeds that are more than 30,000 years old. 10. Mexico. Numerous pyramids built by the Mayans and other ancient civilizations can be found in this North American country. His tallest triangular structure in the world is actually the least known. The Great Pyramid of Cholula is believed to have been built by the Aztecs about 2,000 years ago. Its base is 4 times larger than the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. However, Cholula is currently mostly covered with vegetation and soil. 11. Ethiopia. An archaeological find in this country in East Africa changed the course of human history. In 1974, paleoanthropologist Donald Johanson found a fossilized hominin, early man, 3.2 billion years old, as the oldest human skeleton ever found. It has given scientists important new insights into early human behavior. The Beatles' song "Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds," which Johanson was listening to on the night of the fossil discovery, inspired this fossil named Lucy. 12. Japan. Located on the seismically active Ring of Fire. This Asian island nation experiences 20% of global earthquakes of magnitude 6.0 or greater each year. Such an earthquake can, and often does, cause massive destruction. 13. Philippines. It is the world's largest supplier of nurses, with about 25% of all foreign nurses coming from the Philippines. 14. Egypt. Bread was invented in Egypt around 800 BC. The earliest known forms of this dish were flat and fresh, and most closely resembled what is now known as a tortilla in Latin America, or a chapati in India. 15. Democratic Republic of the Congo. This African country was occupied by Belgium from 1908 to 1960. And one of the legacies of that era is a passion for mayonnaise. Mayonnaise in almost everything. Meat, fish, fried bananas, cassava, peas and salad. These are just a few examples. 16. Vietnam. Ho Chi Minh Mausoleum is one of the main attractions of Hanoi. An embalmed body was exhibited here, the most beloved leader of the nation, Uncle Ho, who was put behind glass, against his will. 17. Iran. Compared to other countries in the world, this Middle Eastern country is most dedicated to family planning. Fatwas, or religious decrees, support the use of birth control. And before a man or woman can obtain a marriage license, they must legally take a course in modern contraception. 18. Turkey. Turkey is well known for mouth-watering sweets such as baklava, but also produces a pudding called tavuk gogsu, which is made with shredded chicken breasts, milk, sugar and cinnamon, among other ingredients. Would you like to try it? 19. Germany. All citizens of this European country, including foreigners, have the right to free college education. 20. Thailand. In this Southeast Asian country, a festival dedicated to numerous monkeys is held annually. During the Monkey Buffet Festival, Lopburi residents distribute 4.5 tons of fruits, vegetables and candies to the 3,000 monkeys living around the ancient Phra Prang Samyot Temple. 21. Great Britain. This island nation in Europe is known for its strong tea culture. An estimated 165 million cups are drunk every day. But the drink was first brought to the islands by a Portuguese woman. Chinese tea, Catherine of Braganza's favorite drink, quickly spread from the royal palace throughout the country, after she married King Charles II in 1662. 22. Tanzania. Rock music legend Freddie Mercury, from the band Queen, was born Farak Bulsarana in Zanzibar, when it was under the British Protectorate. The island in East Africa is now part of Tanzania. 23. France. With 89 million visitors annually, this European country is the most visited country in the world. 24. South Africa. Vilakazi Street in Soweto is the name of the street where Nelson Mandela and Desmond Tutu, two famous South Africans, used to live. Each of them received the Nobel Peace Prize. 25. Italy. Tomato is one of the most recognizable dishes in this European country. However, Italians have only been consuming this fruit since the 1500s, when Spanish conquistadors brought it from Peru to Naples, which was then under Spanish rule. Of course, pizza comes from Naples. 26. Kenya. This nation in East Africa is home to some of the best long-distance runners in the world. The Kalenjin tribe. Male runners from this same tribe placed first, second, third, fourth, and fifth in the Berlin Marathon a few years ago. Tribal runners took first, second and fourth places. 27. Myanmar. Along with Liberia and the United States, the Southeast Asian country is one of only 3 countries in the world that does not use the metric system. 28. Colombia. In this South American country, the Cano Cristales River is called the River of 7 Colors, and the liquid rainbow, because of the many bright colors created by aquatic plants. 29. South Korea. Kimchi and rice are the 2 most important foods in this East Asian country. And there is a saying, if you have kimchi and rice, you've eaten. This addiction to kimchi and rice dates back 3,000 years. 30. Uganda. For birds, this country in Africa is a haven. It is home to over 1,000 species, representing 60% of Africa's bird population, and 11% of the world's bird population. 31. Sudan. According to the Sudanese tradition of Dukhan, brides-to-be undergo a monthly regimen of smoke baths to make their skin smooth and glowing. On their wedding day, women also often use it as a sexual stimulant. 32. Spain. Miguel de Cervantes, author of the famous Don Quixote, considered the first modern novel, was born in this European country. The second part was published 10 years after the first, in 1605. He released a number of other works, but none of them brought much money. 33. Argentina. One of the greatest football players of all time is the Argentinian Diego Maradona. He is so revered in his home country that 120,000 people visit Maradona's church to pay their respects. How do they interpret the Lord's Prayer? Our Diego, who on earth, may your left foot be holy. Your magic will come. Your goals will be remembered. The song says. 34. Algeria. French parents gave birth to Nobel laureate and famous existentialist Albert Camus in Algeria, where he also began his professional life. 35. Iraq. In 3500 to 3000 BC, the Sumerians of ancient Mesopotamia, the territory of modern Iraq, created cuneiform, the first writing system in history. 36. Afghanistan. In this South Central Asian country, the national sport is buzkashi, where men fight over half a calf carcass while on horseback. Goat carcasses used to be used, but they also break easily. It can be quite harsh at times. 37. Poland. This European nation is credited with creating the simple but wonderful bagel. Although the exact date of its origin is unknown, it appears to have occurred at least in 1610, if not earlier, in the 1300s. 38. Canada. Canada and the USA are separated by the 49th parallel. It is the longest unprotected border in the world, spanning 5,525 miles. 39. Morocco. The oldest university in the world is Al-Qarawini University, located in the historic city of Fez El Bali and founded in 859. 40. Saudi Arabia. Islam's holiest city, Mecca, is located in this Middle Eastern country. Due to its religious significance, only Muslims are allowed to enter, and all Muslims are encouraged to visit it at least once. 41. Ukraine. This former Soviet republic is one of only 26 countries in the world with an adult literacy rate of 100%. 42. Angola. Angolan dances are the origin of the extremely popular Brazilian dance style known as samba. 43. Uzbekistan. In this former Soviet nation, bread is revered, and Uzbeks have different beliefs about it. These include breaking off a piece of bread before leaving the house to keep it when you return, and avoiding turning the bread upside down, as it is considered indecent. 44. Yemen. Known as the Manhattan of the desert for its impressive grid plan and high-rise adobe buildings, Sherbam is a 16th-century walled city located in this Middle Eastern country. 45. Peru. Far south of Lima, the capital of Peru, are the mysterious Nazca lines. Due to their size, number and continuity, these structures, which were built between 500 BC and 500 BC, remain one of the greatest mysteries of archaeology. The fact that you can only look at them from above adds to their mystery. Geoglyphs are believed to have astronomical significance and contain figures of people, plants, and animals. 46. Malaysia. The largest known cave chamber on Earth is the Sarawak Chamber, located on the island of Borneo. Its dimensions are 2,000 feet long, 1,400 feet wide, and about 500 feet high, making it twice the size of Wembley Stadium in Britain. 47. Ghana. As the driving force behind the African nations' separation from Britain in 1957, Kwame Nkrumah is considered the founder of Pan-Africanism, an ideology that aimed to unite all African Americans to create a politically independent continent. 48. Mozambique. Known for his political songs, Bob Dylan released an album in 1976 that included the romantic love song Mozambique, which celebrated the African nation at the time of its independence from Portugal. Dylan had never been to the country, so it's unclear why he composed the song, and the timing of its release drew heavy criticism. 49. Nepal. Because it was never fully colonized by Europeans, unlike most other countries in the world, this Asian nation does not celebrate Independence Day. After the Anglo-Nepalese War of 1814 to 1816, it ceded more than 30% of its territory to Britain. But the country's dangerous topography prevented the British from taking control of the entire territory. 50. Madagascar. This African island is home to a traditional martial art known as moraingy, which dates back to the pre-colonial 17th century, and is still extremely popular today. It is similar to mixed martial arts and involves fighting with fists. 51. Ivory Coast. The Basilica of Our Lady of Peace, the largest church in the world, is located in this country in West Africa. Built in 1989. It is 323,000 square feet and 518 feet tall. 52. Venezuela. Residents of this South American country cannot legally watch The Simpsons because their former president, Hugo Chavez, deemed it unsuitable for children. Oddly enough, it was replaced by Malibu Rescue. 53. Cameroon. With over 200 national languages and 1,738 different language groups, Cameroon is often referred to as Africa in miniature. 54. Niger. This African country is home to the largest petroglyph in the entire globe. It features 2 giraffes, the tallest of which is nearly 18 feet tall. It was created between 600 and 8,000 years ago. 55. Australia. Uluru, also known as Ayers Rock, is a large red sandstone formation in the Northern Territory that is considered sacred to Aboriginal people. It is located on this continent. For years, people have taken pieces of sandstone and then returned them, thinking that stealing them would bring them bad luck. 56. North Korea. In the East Asian country, there are only 15 haircut options available to men and women. Consequences for wearing dyed hair or not following official dress codes can range from modest fines to a short jail term. 57. Mali. You can cross the prime meridian in the West African city of Gao and have one foot in the Eastern Hemisphere and the other in the Western Hemisphere. 58. Burkina Faso. During his tenure as president from 1983 to 1987, Burkina Faso revolutionary Thomas Sankara earned the nickname Africa's Che Guevara for his efforts to eradicate corruption and environmental degradation, protect women's rights, and improve access to health care and education. He was killed in 1987. 59. Syria. Cain is believed to have killed Abel with a stone on Mount Kashan, which overlooks the Middle Eastern capital of Damascus, and then carried Abel's body on his shoulders for decades. 60. Sri Lanka. This South Asian country has a revered fig tree that has been carefully tended for over 2,300 years after it was planted from a cutting. The source of the log was an Indian tree that provided the enlightenment needed for Siddhartha Gautama to become the Buddha. 61. Malawi. This nation is highly dependent on Lake Malawi. Although it is the 3rd largest lake in Africa, it is home to more than 1,000 species of fish, more than any other lake in the world. 62. Zambia. In the caves of Kabwe in 1921, fossils of early man were found, the oldest of all found in Africa. The age of the fossils is from 300,000 to 125,000 years. 63. Romania. This European country is the birthplace of Francesco Illy, who in 1892 invented the steam espresso machine and the Illycaf brand. 64. Chile. The South American country has no paid firefighters. They are all volunteers. The question of whether this scheme should be changed was raised in 2014 by a serious fire in Valparaiso. 65. Kazakhstan. They say that wild horses were tamed by the ancient Kazakhs about 5,500 years ago. They knew how to tame, ride and milk horses. 66. Chad. The state-owned Tele-Chad is the only television station in this African country. 67. Ecuador. Although Mount Chimborazo, in this South American country, is the highest point on Earth and, therefore the closest to space, it is not the highest mountain in the world. This is due to the flattened shape of the Earth, not its perfect spherical shape. 68. Somalia. For the inhabitants of this African country, camels are the most important animal. More than half of the world's 14 million camels are found in Somalia. 69. Guatemala. Chocolate was born in this nation in Central America, where the cocoa tree was revered by the ancient Mayans. 70. Senegal. This country in West Africa sets aside Sundays for bathing sheep in the Atlantic Ocean. In a Muslim country, sheep are highly valued, so they are well looked after. 71. Netherlands. The Dutch are now the tallest people in the world, but were once considered to be among the shortest. The women are about 5 feet 6 inches, and the men are just over 6 foot. 72. Cambodia. In this Southeast Asian country, huge ancient buildings buried under the forest near Angkor Wat were discovered in 2015 using airborne laser scanners. They were so huge that at their height in the 12th century, they would have been the largest empire in the world. 73. Zimbabwe. Victoria Falls, one of the largest waterfalls in the world, is truly impressive. The Zimbabwean side of the falls is so large that visitors can see the spray and mist from 31 miles away, and they can hear the sound of the water cascading down from 25 miles away. 74. Guinea. Conakry. The capital of this country has the longest monsoon season of any capital on Earth. It receives about 15 inches of rain per year, compared to the 3.8 inches that is the global average. 75. Rwanda. This nation in Africa has banned the use of straws, as well as banning walking barefoot and wearing sandals in public, in an effort to promote better hygiene and cleanliness. 76. Benin. This country in West Africa has a great respect for snakes. In fact, they allow them into their homes for dinner. And there is a structure called the Python Temple, where visitors can see 50 royal pythons. 77. Burundi. This African country relies so heavily on agriculture that 90% of its population work in industry to earn a living. 78. Tunisia. Part of the city of Kairouan served as a stand-in for Cairo in the 1930s, when the film Raiders of the Lost Ark was filmed in the North African country. In order to remove 350 television antennas from buildings near the film site, a whole day of filming had to be cancelled. 79. Bolivia. Bolivians still adhere to numerous traditional beliefs, such as bringing llama in a sacrifice to Pachamama, the goddess of the earth, despite the overwhelming majority of Catholics in the country. 80. Haiti. This Caribbean nation was created as a result of the Haitian Revolution, of 1791 to 1804, which made it the first nation formed by former slaves. 81. Belgium. This nation in Europe has a big appetite for chocolate. It's more than 2,000 chocolate factories, and shops can produce up to 600,000 tons of chocolate annually. Brussels Airport is Belgium's largest chocolate retailer. 82. Jordan. The Valley of the Moon, also known as Wadi Rum, has been used as a location for several movies, including Lawrence of Arabia, Red Desert, and The Martian. 83. Dominican Republic. Since its inception in the 1880s, baseball has become an obsession in this Caribbean country. Today, Major League Baseball has the most foreign-born players at 102. 84. Cuba. The main source of income in this Caribbean island nation is doctors, not tobacco, sugar, rum, or tourism. Cuba benefits from the $11 billion annually brought in by its 50,000 doctors working abroad. 85. South Sudan. This African country gained full independence in 2011, making it the youngest country in the world. 86. Sweden. For more than 200 years, this Scandinavian nation did not participate in hostilities. It avoided combat in either of the two world wars, and her final confrontation came with its independent neighbor, Norway, in 1814. 87. Honduras. The people of Comayagua, a country in Central America, have celebrated Good Friday for decades by creating intricate and colorful sawdust carpets depicting scenes from the life of Jesus Christ in front of their homes. Months of planning go into these magnificent structures, but the parade of celebration always ends with their trampling. 88. Czech Republic. The oldest operating astronomical clock in the world is located in Prague, the capital of this European country, and was built in 1410. 89. Azerbaijan. Superstition and folklore dominate this former Soviet country. Some beliefs include never rushing for a funeral and never borrowing money or food overnight. 90. Greece. This ancient European nation has banned high heels from historic sites to prevent excessive damage to its historical monuments. 91. Papua New Guinea. There is a tribe in this Oceania country that still uses seashells as money, the predominant form of money in the Tolai civilization is taboo, which are used in a similar way to regular cash, but are difficult to produce. 92. Portugal. The world's biggest surfable waves are found in a small fishing village called Nazaré, which is located north of Lisbon, with the largest wave ever recorded reportedly being 100 feet high. Portugal is home to some of the most dangerous surfing spots in the world. 93. Hungary. This European country is home to the architect who created the Rubik's Cube and gave it its own name. Erno Rubik never intended his invention to be a toy. Instead, he meant a tool for teaching three-dimensional geometry. 94. Tajikistan. The largest glacier outside the North and South Poles is located in this former Soviet country, in the Pamir Mountains. Among thousands of other glaciers lies the 47-mile-long Fichenko Glacier. 95. United Arab Emirates. If you've ever dreamed of walking up to an ATM and withdrawing a gold bar, then head to Dubai in this Middle Eastern country, where you can find just such a machine. 96. Belarus. The Soviet period never ended in this European country, and Belarus is often called the last dictatorship in Europe. There is still a communal economy, and the secret police is known as the KGB. Since the establishment of the position of president in 1994, it has been held by Alexander Lukashenko. It steadily preserves the atmosphere of the USSR. 97. Israel. Tomatoes have a rich history in this Middle Eastern country. Modern cherry tomatoes were created in Israel with varieties that do not leak, are resistant to viruses and retain freshness even after a week of storage on the counter. 98. Togo. In this West African country, about 1/3 of the population practice ancestral beliefs such as voodoo. Fetishes are voodoo mascots sold by vendors in Lomé, the capital of Togo. 99. Austria. This European country still has the first zoo in history, which opened its doors in 1752. 100. Switzerland. This country is commonly associated with chocolate in Europe, and for good reason. Most chocolate in its modern form, such as melting chocolate, hazelnut chocolate, and milk chocolate, comes from Switzerland. 101. Sierra Leone. In this West African country, English is the official language, but everyone also speaks Creole, a Creole language based on English that allows different ethnic groups to interact with each other. 102. Laos. American soldiers dropped an estimated 2 million tons of munitions on the Southeast Asian country during the Secret War, which lasted from 1964 to 1973. This is equivalent to loading an airplane with bombs every 8 minutes every day, for 9 years, making Laos the country with the most bombings per capita in world history. 103. Serbia. This former Yugoslav republic was once the epicenter of the Roman Empire, and the evidence is clear. What is now Serbia has been home to 18 emperors. Among them, the most famous was Constantine I, who founded Constantinople, Istanbul, and made Christianity the state religion. 104. Nicaragua. This country in Central America has such a pristine night sky that astronomers can see 86 of the 88 constellations. 105. Libya. The African country's fossil aquifer, which dates back 40,000 years and existed until the end of the last ice age, was discovered during oil exploration in the 1950s. 106. Paraguay. Unfortunately, the German Aryans lived in this South American country since the 1880s, when the father of Nazism, Bernhard Forster, moved to Paraguay. Before and during World War II, the nation supported Germany. Then, after the war, Paraguay became a refuge for the Nazis. 107. Kyrgyzstan. This epic, the Epic of Manas, is considered the longest in the world, 20 times longer than Homer's Odyssey. From the 1800s to the 1920s, when it was first published, a large number of people contributed to its writing. This former Soviet country reveres Manas as a national hero. 108. Bulgaria. This ancient country from the Balkans says it invented yogurt by accident over 4,000 years ago. In any case, the primary fermentation bacterium in the creamy dairy product, Lactobacillus bulgaricus, was originally identified in the area and named after Bulgaria. 109. Turkmenistan. This former Soviet country celebrates a melon festival every August, because the fruit is so important to its history and culture. 110. El Salvador. This nation is the only one in Central America that does not have a Caribbean coast. 111. Republic of the Congo. Not to be confused with its larger neighbor, the Democratic Republic of Congo. This African country is home to what a team from National Geographic called the world's last Eden. During a visit in the 1990s, they were in a swampy forest area rich in wildlife and plants, called Nuabeondoki National Park. 112. Singapore. Singapore is an island city-state in Southeast Asia that has the entire national song in microtext on the back of the $1,000 bill. 113. Denmark. In this European country, bicycles are much more common than private vehicles. Only 4 out of 10 Danes own a car, and 9 out of 10 own a bicycle. 114. Slovakia. Bratislava. The capital of this European country is the only capital in the world that borders 2 other countries, Austria and Hungary. 115. Central African Republic. Together with Madagascar and Chad, this country in Central Africa is one of the 3 least polluted regions in the world. 116. Finland. Baby box was created in Finland in the 1930s, during a period of high infant mortality on the continent. Since 1949, every mother-to-be in Finland has been given a cardboard box with toys, clothes and bedding for the newborn to sleep. 117. Norway. Due to a shortage of seafood in Japan, Norway began selling salmon, one of its main exports, to Japan in the 1980s. In fact, the Norwegians recommended using it in sashimi and sushi, although the Japanese hesitated at first. In 1995, it was adopted as a raw seafood staple. 118. Liberia. This African nation was founded in the early 1800s by the American Colonization Society as a home for freed slaves and freeborn black Americans. In the first few years of its existence, almost 20,000 people moved here. 119. Palestine. Bethlehem is not only the birthplace of Jesus Christ, but also the name of a small town in this independent state, which is located between Israel and Jordan. The city celebrates Christmas 3 times a year. January 7th, Greek Orthodox; January 18th, Armenians; and December 25th, Catholics. 120. Lebanon. Qana. A city in the southern region of this small Middle Eastern country, is considered the site of the famous miracle of Jesus Christ, who turned water into wine. 121. New Zealand. This Oceanian island nation made history in 1893, becoming the first sovereign state in history To grant women the right to vote in parliamentary elections. 122. Costa Rica. This Central American nation is usually the same distance from the Sun due to its location 8 to 12 degrees north of the equator. This means that every day of the year it experiences 12 hours of daylight and 12 hours of darkness, with sunrise and sunset occurring exactly once an hour. 123. Ireland. Perhaps the most famous drink in this European country is Guinness. When Arthur Guinness signed the agreement in 1759, the brewery site at St. James's Gate was leased for 9,000 years, at £45 a month. Even now, such conditions are observed. 124. Mauritania. This country in Africa is home to a crumbling raised dome known as the Rickhat structure. It is best viewed from space, where it is clearly visible, and is often referred to as the Eye of the Sahara. 125. Oman. This Middle Eastern country hosts a women's souk, Arab market, every Wednesday in the small town of Ibra. Men are forbidden to enter the bazaar on this day or make sales there. 126. Panama. You can see the sun rise over the Pacific Ocean and set over the Atlantic Ocean on the same day from Baru volcano, the highest point in this Central American country. 127. Kuwait. This small Middle Eastern country has a tire dump that is so huge that it is not only the largest in the world, but can be seen from space. 128. Croatia. Ties are said to originate from this former Yugoslav country on the Adriatic Sea. In the 17th century, during France's 30 Years' War, King Louis XIII hired Croatian mercenaries, who wore a piece of cloth around their necks, which the monarch particularly liked. He called it la cravate, which is the name for a tie that is still used in French today. 129. Eritrea. After 30 years of conflict, this coastal country in North Africa gained independence from Ethiopia in 1993, but has not held elections since then. The Popular Front for Democracy and Justice is the only political party in the country. Its constitution was suspended in 1997. 130. Georgia. Although locals call their country Sakartvelo, the English name for this Eurasian nation and former Soviet republic is Georgia. But no one is sure how it came to be. There are several theories, one of which claims that the name of the region was given by foreigners who were impressed by their reverence for St. George. 131. Mongolia. From horse milk which has undergone fermentation. Prepare the national drink of this huge Asian country. Arag. Horses are highly respected in Mongolia. The milk, which contains about 2% alcohol, is fermented for several days, usually in a leather bag that is hung outside the yurt. 132. Moldova. This former Soviet country is home to the largest wine cellar in the world. The underground system, which stores approximately 2 million bottles in the Molestii Misai wine cellar, stretches for 75 kilometers. To cross it, cars and bicycles are required. And the same traffic rules apply underground as above ground. 133. Uruguay. This South American nation boasts the longest national anthem in the world. lasting nearly 6 minutes. The melody to the song was added in 1848, and the words were written in 1833, by the same author as the national anthem of Paraguay. 134. Bosnia and Herzegovina. Residents and government officials of this former Yugoslav republic in southeastern Europe believe there is a 12,000-year-old network of pyramids within the country, according to the efforts of an amateur archaeologist in the early 2000s. In that case, Bosnia would be the birthplace of European civilization, and they would be much older than the pyramids in Egypt. 135. Albania. Mother Teresa, the only winner of the Nobel Prize from this European country, had Albanian origin. 136. Jamaica. This Caribbean island nation has the world's most famous bobsled team, but it also lacks snow and winter weather throughout the year. In 1988, he participated in his first Olympics. 137. Armenia. In this former Soviet country, sandwiched between Europe and Asia, chess is the main pastime. Only Armenia forces its children to learn chess in schools, and it pays off. The nation often wins international tournaments, and has a high ratio of grandmasters per population. 138. The Gambia. Only recently did this African country switch from balls to paper ballots for elections. The practice of using balls began in the 1960s, as a way to avoid spoiled ballots and make it easier for illiterate citizens to vote. 139. Lithuania. This former Soviet republic was the largest power in Europe in the 15th century, covering the territory of modern Belarus, as well as parts of Ukraine, Poland, and Russia. It was known as the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. 140. Qatar. This country in the Middle East is the safest in the world in terms of the probability of a natural disaster. 141. Botswana. Due to strict hunting laws, this southern African country is home to the largest elephant population on the continent. 142. Namibia. The Namib Desert, which gave its name to this African nation, has a geological age of 55 million years, and is the oldest desert on Earth. 143. Gabon. Approximately 80% of Africa's gorilla population lives in this small country. 144. Lesotho. This country in Africa has the unique title of highest lowest point in the world, because it is the only country that is completely above 1,000 meters, or about 3,280 feet. 145. Guinea-Bissau. This small African country has benefited greatly from the growing demand for cashews worldwide. 80% of the country's export earnings are accounted for by this crop. 146. Slovenia. Bees are very important in this country of the former Yugoslavia. 90,000 out of 2 million inhabitants of Slovenia are beekeepers, or 1 in 20. 147. North Macedonia. North Macedonia, another former Yugoslav republic, is credited with creating the Cyrillic alphabet, which is used in more than 50 languages. It was founded by Saint Cyril and Methodius, brothers in the 9th century. 148. Latvia. The first time a conifer was decorated for Christmas in the style we know today was in 1510. In Riga, Latvia. 149. Equatorial Guinea. This country in Africa was colonized twice by Spain, which is the only nation on the continent where Spanish is an official language. 150. Trinidad and Tobago. In this twin republic, located to the north of Venezuela, the limbo dance first appeared in the 1950s. Initially, it was done during a funeral and was supposed to symbolize the life cycle. 151. Bahrain. In Bahrain, women are allowed to vote and run for office, unlike many of their Middle Eastern neighbors. 152. East Timor. After decades of colonization, Portugal left this Southeast Asian island nation in 1975. Indonesia attacked and occupied the country until 1999. East Timor became the first newly created state of the 21st century in 2002. 153. Estonia. This former Soviet republic is considered a world leader in digital technology, and was the first to offer online voting to its citizens back in 2005. This makes it one of the most innovative countries on the planet. 154. Mauritius. The only known habitat of the dodo bird, famous for its anthropogenic extinction. Don't go the way of the drone, was on this African island nation, although the cause of its disappearance remains disputed. 155. Cyprus. The Greek goddess of love, Aphrodite, is believed to have been born on the shores of this island country, in the Mediterranean Sea. 156. Eswatini. Until 2018, this country in southern Africa was known as Swaziland. This is one of the last absolute monarchies in history. In addition, King Mswati has the option of taking another wife each year. His predecessor, for example, had 125 wives. 157. Djibouti. This tiny nation in southern Africa used to have a national football team, but it was disbanded in 2017 due to persistent poor results. She had never been to a major international event before. 158. Fiji. In this island country in the southern part of the Pacific Ocean, an ancient custom of walking on hot stones was born. It is even believed that those descended from the first man to walk on a red-hot stone can still do so. 159. Comoros. Since 1975 in this African island nation, in the Indian Ocean each 2 or more years occurred coup attempts or an actual coup, which makes her one from the most politically unstable countries in the world. 160. Guyana. The South American nation has the sad distinction of being the scene of the world's largest mass suicide, when they drank the poisoned Kool-Aid on November 18, 1978. Nearly 900 men, women and children who were residents of the Jim Jones People's Temple died. 161. Bhutan. Visitors to this Himalayan resort must spend at least $200 per day off-season to enter the country. Even if it seems like a lot, it includes everything: accommodation, meals, transport, daily guide, and local taxes. 162. Solomon Islands. Blonde hair accounts for 5 to 10% of the indigenous population of this Oceanian island nation. This is caused by a naturally occurring gene that is completely different from the gene that gives Europeans blonde hair. 163. Luxembourg. This small European nation has a dance event that is so old and popular that it was included in UNESCO's Intangible Cultural Heritage of Humanity list in 2010. About 10,000 people see as they jump at the same time, and another 40,000 are watching. 164. Montenegro. Former part of Yugoslavia in southeastern Europe, is home to what is believed to be one of, if not the oldest, olive tree in the world, the Stara Maslina. It is over 2,000 years old, and it grows among several other olive trees that are between 500 and 700 years old. 165. Suriname. This country, which lies on the northeastern coast of South America, has only one cinema, which is located in Paramaribo, the capital of the country. 166. Cabo Verde. In search of better opportunities, many Cape Verdeans left the island nation in West Africa during the 20th century due to periodic droughts. The number of foreigners living abroad has outnumbered local residents as a result of this mass exodus. 167. Micronesia. Operation Christmas Drop. A U.S. Department of Defense project began in 1952 on one of several islands that make up the North Pacific nation of Micronesia, with nearly 50 islands in the Pacific. It is the longest-running humanitarian initiative of the Department of Defense. 168. Malta. There is a cave on the island of Gozo in Malta that is supposedly mentioned in Homer's Odyssey. This is the cave where the nymph Calypso imprisoned Odysseus for 7 years because of love. Gozo is the island of Ogygia in the epic Odyssey. 169. Maldives. To draw attention to the impending disaster of climate change, the administration of this island nation off the southern coast of India held its first ever underwater cabinet meeting in 2009. It was something between a publicity stunt and a cry for help, but at least the media noticed it. 170. Brunei. This Southeast Asian country is one of the few in the world with an absolute monarchy, after Queen Elizabeth II of Great Britain. Hassan al-Bolkiah has ruled Brunei as Sultan since 1967, making him the second longest reigning monarch in history. 171. The Bahamas. The Bahamas is a group of hundreds of islands located east of Florida and north of the Caribbean Sea. Despite being located near the Tropic of Cancer, the country has only had one snowfall in its entire history. On January 19, it snowed on the island of Grand Bahama, marking the arrival of the bitterly cold winter of 1977. In the Bahamas. 172. Belize. You might be surprised to learn that there is a nation where the rat-like creature is prized as a delicacy. It is real and it exists in this country in Central America. The region is so sacred that Queen Elizabeth II was offered a gibnut during a royal visit in 1985. 173. Iceland. This island nation in Europe is known for topping several per capita rankings. But none more surprising than Coca-Cola. Icelanders consume more soft drinks per person than any other country. 174. Vanuatu. Ground diving, which gave birth to bungee jumping, is the national sport of this South Pacific island nation. Men jump from a precarious wooden platform at a great height, tying their ankles with plant vines. According to religious symbolism, the bravery of these jumps is closely related to the prosperity of the yam harvest that year. 175. Barbados. Mongooses are commonplace on this Caribbean island. In an unsuccessful attempt to control the rat population, they were originally imported from India in the 1870s, now they are only a part of the island. In Barbados, it is said that you are lucky if a mongoose crosses the road in front of you. 176. São Tomé and Príncipe. Compared to most other places in the world, relationships in this island nation in Africa are a little different. Most of the upper class are married in traditional Christian marriages, and it is normal for men to manage multiple residences. Both men and women have multiple partners and children throughout their lives, and cohabitation is also common. 177. Samoa. In Samoa, an island nation in the South Pacific, there is a third gender known as the Fa'afafin. Unlike other parts of the world, this practice is very progressive and dates back to before colonization. Samoans understand that each person is unique, and if a man exhibits feminine behavior as a child, he is encouraged to adopt such traits and is wholeheartedly accepted by the community. 178. Saint Lucia. This island nation in the Caribbean Sea is the only country in the world named after a woman. In this case, Saint Lucia of Syracuse. French settlers were the first Europeans to arrive on the island and gave it its name. 179. Kiribati. Kiribati has unique feature of being single nation in the world, which is located in all four hemispheres thanks to his own location in the central part of the Pacific Ocean, and size their own islands which cover 1.3 million square miles. 180. Grenada. Until the early 1800s, Indonesia was the only country that produced nutmeg. However, the British brought nutmeg to many other places, such as Grenada in the Caribbean, during the Napoleonic Wars. Today, 40% of the nutmeg produced worldwide comes from this island nation. 181. Tonga. Because bats are considered sacred and the official property of the ruling king, who is the only group allowed to touch the flying creatures. Bats abound on many of the dozens of islands that make up this South Pacific nation. 182. Seychelles. Mahe is one of the islands that make up this country off the east coast of Africa. Rumor has it that the French pirate Olivier Levasseur buried tens of millions of dollars worth of wealth there. Father and son have been searching for looted treasure since 1950. 183. Saint Vincent and the Grenadines. This Caribbean island nation is home to the oldest botanical garden in the Western Hemisphere. The gardens were established around 1765 and contain both native plants and breadfruit trees that were first introduced to the island from Tahiti. 184. Antigua and Barbuda. The people of these islands are very fond of cricket, which is a legacy of the British colonial rule. Despite its small population, the country is home to some of the greatest cricketers of all time, such as Andy Roberts, Richie Richardson, Curtly Ambrose, and Viv Richards. 185. Andorra. The tiny country of Andorra, which lies between France and Spain, has never been at war in its 1,000 years of existence. However, despite having no armed forces, it was one of the first countries to declare war on Germany during the First World War. In addition, it remained at war with Germany until the outbreak of World War II in 1939, as the Treaty of Versailles ignored its claims. 186. Dominica. One of the Caribbean island nations. Many volcanoes has a vent called a fumarole that spews hot sulfurous gas into a 200-foot wide body of water, forming the second largest natural hot spring in the world. It's aptly called Boiling Lake, and it's only a 4-hour hike to get there. This is one of the things that make it one of the top 10 countries in the Caribbean. 187. St. Kitts and Nevis. Christopher Columbus named these Caribbean islands after himself. He was called Kitts, and the Spanish word for snow, nieves. Even though snow is the furthest thing from what you'd expect in this area where the average annual temperature is 82 degrees. 188. Marshall Islands. The largest shark reserve in the world was created by this nation in 2011. In the Pacific Ocean, which consists of several islands and atolls, the Marshall Islands nearly doubled the amount of ocean that is protected for marine life, adding 772,000 square miles of new territory. 189. Liechtenstein. The world's leading manufacturer of artificial teeth is this small country, nestled comfortably between Austria and Switzerland. About 20% of all artificial teeth produced in the world, or 60 million artificial teeth, are manufactured by Ivoclar Vivadent each year. 190. Monaco. One of the main attractions of Monaco, a small country surrounded by France and the Mediterranean Sea, is its casino in Monte Carlo. However, citizens of the nation are denied access to it unless they work there. Gambling laws were first introduced in the mid-1800s to prevent the country from going bankrupt. Monaco wanted foreign cash from the venture, but it also didn't want its own people to go into debt because of their gambling addiction. 191. San Marino. A small historic state tucked away in Italy. San Marino is home to one outstanding honorary citizen, Abraham Lincoln. In 1861, Lincoln received cheers from around the world when he took office as the 16th President of the United States. However, it was the one from San Marino, the oldest republic in the world, that caught his attention the most, as he wished the United States well as the Civil War approached and Lincoln worked to maintain peace. 192. Palau. Palau, located east of the Philippines, is a small island nation and the only place in the world that maintains a strict matrilineal system in which kinship is traced through the mother's line. Women elect male chiefs and have the right to revoke this status. The money remains with them. And the mother's brother is entrusted with providing for the children. 193. Nauru. This 8-square-mile island nation in the South Pacific really does rank high at something. Although it probably would rather not be the fattest country in the world. With an average body mass index of 32.5 and 61% of its residents considered obese. 194. Tuvalu. Located halfway between Hawaii and Australia. Tuvalu derives its main revenue stream from the country. Codedomain.tv. Since the late 1990s, the country has entered into numerous agreements with corporations that offer web addresses prefixed with a preferred suffix. 195. The Holy See. Though that she is not a member of the European Union or the Eurozone, the smallest officially recognized sovereign state the world uses the euro as its currency. It also makes its own stamps and mints its own euro coins, just like other countries.